Welcome to Great Talk and Entertainment. I'm your host, KJ, and this is the podcast where we review movies and TV shows from all your favorite superheroes, including Marvel Comics, DC Comics, and much more. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Great Talk and Entertainment official channel. Baby, let's go. Now, as we continue on for the new Disney Plus series, She-Hulk, we are now reviewing episode 7, and yes, this is a spoiler review. So if you have not seen the show, pause this, give us a thumbs up, go watch, and then come back and check out my awesome review. And definitely tell me, guys, what you think about each and every show I review. I would love to hear your guys' comments, opinions, theories. And just let me know how I'm doing, because your feedback will help me make this channel better so I can keep entertaining you, the people. So, you've been warned, this is a spoiler. Episode 7 was all about She-Hulk getting ghosted because while she was asleep, Josh took her blood and all her information, hijacking in this episode. We see that Jen was starting to really like her, and she was hoping to get like a text back from him, but he kept ghosting her. And in this episode, you see how they were hanging out, going on dates. She was playing hard to get. And then, they had a little bound chicken wah wah, of course. But as soon as that happened, Josh, took her blood. Well, let me rephrase it. I'm saying I think he took her blood because that's what it feels like. But I also know that he took every information from She-Hulk's cell phone, of course. So, and while she's just waiting and she's sitting at the house, just bumming on the couch, you see her watching the Muppets. I mean, you see like Miss Piggy locked up in jail or a jail cell, and she breaks the bar because she's worried about Kermit. That's just probably they put that show on there just to reference how she feels inside. And she's worried about Josh. She had really high hopes because Josh led her on to believe that he was truly into her and played it off like he was a nice, genuine guy, like he was at the wedding. But he had a plan, which we learned that he works for the intelligence, and we don't know why. So, while she's doing all that, she gets a phone call from Blonsky's parole officer. It seems like his little ankle bracelet went off, and they had to go see why. And she checks on him. Nothing big. I guess he was just doing some farming at his big land property that owns, which is crazy because, fun fact, and if you live in California, you gotta be a millionaire, billionaire, or just make really good money, because buying that much land in California is a lot, like a lot. But moving on from that, I just want to point that out. She checks on him, and like you said, he's fine. He was just doing some stuff, and again, this just shows how this show's really been really on the eyes of a feminist or the female or Jen, pretty much, basically. And it just shows it's really hard to trust some of these guys, because in episode 6 or episode 5 probably, I think too, you just really can't trust any of the men. They always got something dark and have something that they just want from her, and yeah, no pun intended on that. But Blonsky's cool. He's fine, but he seems so chilled. He seems like he's changed his way, and he's helping these other people, which we get a new introduction of all these new Marvel characters of first time in a live action. And these are characters that the mainstream audience may not recognize or never heard of. But if you're someone like me who's really into comic books and really hardcore into this stuff, which hence why I have a podcast, You see like these new characters, and they're definitely very exciting. I think there's some cool things that could happen. These are villains who are in multiple Marvel comics. They're mid level, but hey, I think some of these characters have the same chance to be as popular like Groot was, or Wong, or any other character that people didn't think that'd be a big hit or a fan favorite. They will be. So they have the same amount of chance like those other Marvel characters that we like. People really are just popular, who really think are really cool, got really popular with a lot of people, obviously, is what I'm getting at. So, again, this episode is also just a beautiful episode showing the struggle of Jen, just trying to let go and the stress of her trying to be herself, and then She-Hulk and having people expect her doing things. And, this show really just shows her trying to move on from Josh. And we see like one person from the wrecking crew. He's there. Apparently he's changed and he has apologized. But can we really trust him? I don't know. But it just seems also good. But I think maybe this is an episode that maybe none of these guys at this little retreat place that Bolonsky, aka the Abomination, has creative. And it just shows her, but at the end of this episode, she obviously goes with it. She talks how she feels, and then she leaves. She feels better. So talk about the some things. The Abomination's land. It's beautiful. Has that summer like twilight. Like I said, this also introduced the first time live action of appearance. So here's like what I think about that. I like the idea of, if the Abomination, let's say the Abomination did change, and this is his change, I makes sense to me because this is a Marvel character that started in Phase 1. If you remember in like, I think episode 2, where, how Jen and Bolonsky met and how their relationship started with just her representing him in like court. But this just shows that maybe he, like these, like not just him, but other characters from the Phase 1, maybe they are maturing, owning up to their mistakes, looking for redemption, and willing to change their life for a better life than what they were doing. And let's say that's the case, right? I think that makes sense for that, because just like, because when I mentioned the MCU Phase 1, like Iron Man is the face of that, right? And you see him grow and change. And now they never had Abomination appear in any other Marvel film in Phase 1 and 2 and so forth, right? So I think, to me, this is just their way of saying, okay, now these characters, because it does, in storytelling, does make sense that he could change, like he could have a change of heart, because in Phase 1 he did the most diabolic things in New York. He had really believed in the government. He believed in Thunderbolt Ross. He really believed in the super soldier serum, and he really believed that at one point he wanted to have Bruce Banner's like ability to turn into a Hulk, and he got that, right? And then he got more, and so he really had high hope, and then he lost, obviously. And then, when he gets arrested and locked up, Thunderbolt Ross moves on, ditches him, abandons him. So the team he was representing, which I'm not saying the government, not more to the government, but just to the loyalty to Thunderbolt Ross that he had is has been broken. You know, he believed in Thunderbolt Ross. He wanted to be his guy, and and obviously he got turned on because Thunderbolt Ross's plan did not work out to capture Bruce Banner and use the Hulk as a weapon for the military of the United States of America, right? And so I can see if this was a genuine thing that they were going with, and they're not going to have that plot twist. Abomination has an evil plan, right? This would make sense just because, obviously, this character would have has went up to a higher number in an age like old, basically, right? But not too old. I'm not. That's not what I'm getting at. It's more of like, okay, now he's mature. He's had like all these years throughout the MCU phases to reflect on his life, and maybe he had a change of heart, and that's a possibility. So it does make sense to see a character like that, because there's other Marvel characters who weren't, who they haven't used for a while since maybe phase one sorry, phases 1 through 3, just to play it safe. They could come back. There's other ones that could come back and have a change of heart and not continue like what they were doing in phase 1. And there are some that may need to continue what they were doing in phase 1. But I think Abomination is a perfect example of a Marvel character that could change and can be the good guy. And this is how Kevin Feige might have think that would work, because this is like all making sense for the MCU. So another thing is they introduce now I may butcher this guy's name, but it's Saracent. Saharant. He's a vampire. He's one of the in the comic books. He's one of the oldest vampires, and obviously he's heavily connected to the one and only Blade. But they obviously changed him a little bit, and because in the comic books he was more like Dracula level. He was more evil, more vicious. This one he seems like a guy who's delusional, or he really is a vampire and he wants blood. But he's in this at Blonsky's retreat trying to change. So it's very interesting where they were doing that. Now, there's not really a lot that they done with him in this show, but because a lot of the times he was just sitting down, just chilling. Porcupine, he's the villain for Ant-Man, and again, just before I continue on, these are like mid-level Marvel character villains that they use throughout different comic books and stories. Porcupine Man, now there's been like in the comic books there's been a couple other people, but he's a new guy on there, so it'd be very interesting because there's one, I forget his name and I apologize, but there's one character in the comic books that played Porcupine, and he was like he used to build like the weapons, like the guns, the cannons, the bullets, and etc. for the military, and he's retired, and I think he took on this thing. Another thing is there's been comic book stories where Norman Osborn made this suit, and there was a second character in which I forget the name, but just to let you know, there was another one who bought this suit from Norman Osborn, which is in the comic book. So again, on this show for episode 7, they were all sitting down, so you couldn't really see, but this suit is like an Iron Man suit type. It can the spikes on his costumes can shoot at you and whatever. Very bulletproof. So, and then you have Man-Bull, who's a Daredevil villain. Again, he was a guy who wanted the super solar serum, and it turned him into a bull. So he became the man bull. Nothing really much. Again, he's one of those characters who are like hard headed, dumbfounded, but he's really strong and he can run through walls. And then I'm gonna butcher this one too. El Agalu. He's a mutant, shockingly, and his power is electric. And he's been in a lot of the X-Men comics, but in this one, he seems like a guy who is delusional, going through some problems, and seems like Man Bull and El have like some type of relationship, which would be very interesting. So, again, I think that's really cool. I really hope personally that they would use these characters more, and I think they will. I really think they will. So I can't really say much about them right now, but the actors who are portraying them, I really like them. I hope they stick around. They're not dead. They're just chilling at the retreat. So maybe other they can appear in other Marvel films on the Disney Plus. Who knows, right? So Josh steals her blood. See, now this is what I think. Now I have rewatched this episode 3 times, and nothing on her skin that shows like any needle pokes, but I would have to believe that he needed to get her blood so they can clone it, because it's been cloned by the leader. So maybe I think Josh works for the leader, and I think they're gonna clone her blood to have that Hulk ability power. That's the only thing I think, because they never showed Josh after that. So he's been gone since that episode. So who knows? I just think like it could. I think there's got to be something bigger than this, and I think they're building it up. Hopefully, episode 8 will, give us that light. And then let's talk about She-Hulk, aka Jen. So again, when I was saying this was a beautiful episode, and I just shows you that she's still struggling with like a split personality thing with She-Hulk and herself. And I think like at the end, I think she found some clarity. I think she found out who she is. I think now she, in the way, just like her cousin did, but when Bruce Banner put the bronze, she kind of did that without actually physically doing that. She just embraced being She-Hulk. She embraced the idea like, this is my ability and I'm gonna use it more, and I'm gonna feel more confident doing this. I'm gonna be, she's gonna be a woman now. She's gonna be proud to be both her versions. She's gonna not treat them separately. She's just gonna be herself, whatever form she's in. And I think that's a beautiful thing. In this episode, she gets a Female Lawyer of the Year. Now, what does that mean? Well, it can mean a lot of things. So, I think it's a setup. I don't see why. How did she just win Lawyer of the Year? If you go based off all these episodes, she hasn't really done a lot. She's done a lot of cases, but not enough to say this. But I could be wrong. Maybe they're gonna glaze over it and just kind of show other ones that they haven't shown or she's done in the past as being She-Hulk, right? That's a possibility. But I think it's the setup, and I think the intelligence have something to do with this. And this is all leading up because this is an episode that definitely had a lot of unanswered questions. And this episode, there was no ending to like, where's Josh? Josh never reappeared. There was no end credit scenes of Josh doing something. We just knew that he took her information and possibility blood. So it's very interesting where this is going to go. But I think episode 8 will give us this clarification. I hope, right? But I don't know. But other than that, I think it was such a great. I'm giving this a 10. It was just a great episode. Very like meaning. I think this could like it does represent like some of like real life struggles that like women go through, and I think the idea of like all this stuff is just it's hard to go into the law field. It's hard to try to be a hero, and everybody's trying to use you, and you just want to feel normal. I think that's just a typical thing, and I think it's just a beautiful episode of just being on that topic and using She-Hulk as an example of a strong woman coming back from being ghosted or stood up, right? So it's beautiful. I love it. We need more of this. This is why I'm so glad. I'm really glad that Marvel Studios went a totally different route with She-Hulk and type of stories they would add in each episode. So it's definitely good. It's definitely good. I'm loving this one. Like, this is going to be in my top 5. I'll do a top 5 one, or a top 10, maybe a top 5 for the end of the year of what all my favorite Disney Plus Marvel shows were, and what I think was the best to the not so best, right? So I'll do that. So thank you for my review. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Great Talk and Entertainment Official Channel. Thank you. Peace.